Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Just when Michael Matheson thought it was safe to go back to Holyrood, it turns out it's not so safe after all. He is now going to be probed again. There's another probe, another investigation into him and his iPad. This time, it's not over the fraud that he tried to commit. This time, it's over the data security. It's over the fact that he let his children use his iPad. It's over the fact that he could be in very serious trouble indeed as a security threat. This is a very serious incident. I'm laughing because it just suits him down to the ground and it's good. He'll be very, very worried by this because this is actually much more serious than the attempted fraud. We're going to take a look at it, but I think Matheson will be twitching, puckering up, getting ready, because he's going to have another probe deeply inserted into his private life. See? Tricked you. Let's have a look. So Michael Matheson faces another probe as the UK data watchdog begins investigation into iPad Gate. Now, this is UK. This isn't Scotland. This isn't something that Bain can control and sort of say, hey, let's not make fraud a crime, Michael, and get your little slap on the wrist. No. This is a much more serious crime at a much higher level. The Information Commissioner's Office has written to the disgraced former Health Secretary to ask for his explanation of how his children were able to access his Scottish Parliament iPad while on holiday. Michael Matheson is being investigated by the Information Commissioner's Office over claims that his infamous use of parliamentary iPad had breached data rules. Now, I do hope that this will involve them taking that iPad and giving it a thorough investigation as to its history. Because I'm pretty sure, and many people are, that it wasn't football that his children were watching on that iPad. Because if it was the kids just watching football, he would have readily handed it over. Please inspect it, just see that I'm telling the truth. And yet he has consistently refused to allow it to be inspected. Now that can lead to only one thing. He's lied yet again. And it wasn't his kids watching football. It was Michael having some happy time, holding his iPad in his left hand and doing something, well, I don't even want to think about it, with his right hand. However, it depends on what he was entertaining himself with, what particular sort of entertainment was on that screen. And we're pretty sure it must be something pretty awful. Anyway, the SNP politician quit as Health Secretary last month after a cross-party investigation by the Scottish parliamentary corporate body, the SPCB, ruled that he had breached the MSP's code of conduct over his £11,000 fraudulent claim for data roaming charges racked up during a family holiday for Morocco in December 2022. Yes, having some special Michael time while the kids were down at the pool, eh? He's still awaiting a final decision on what sanctions will be taken against him, amid calls for him to resign as an MSP for Falkirk West. He can't, he daren't, he mustn't in his mind. He'll never work again. Who would employ a liar and a fraudster? Nobody. He's finished. There are calls for the SNP to remove the whip. Indeed, and I called for that yesterday, but nobody will listen to me, of course. But even within the party, there are calls, and yet the whip has not yet been removed. It's strange, isn't it? They removed the whip like that from Fergus Ewing, and he just voted against someone who's not even in his own party. This guy has lied to his own people, lied to Parliament, attempted to steal money from the taxpayer, and is still allowed to have the SNP whip. I know which crime I think is worse. Anyway, after initially claiming the sum on his expenses, Mr Matheson insisted the iPad had only been used for constituency work, which of course was a complete and utter barefaced lie. He later admitted that his teenage sons had used it to watch Scottish football matches, apparently without their parents' knowledge. Interesting how that happens. It's obviously password controlled. How did they get the password? did he give it to them? And that's assuming, of course, that that's even what happened. And I don't think it is. I think it's frankly unbelievable. They'd have to watch continuous football for the entire 2-week holiday, or however long it was, to rack up anything close to £11,000. No, this is more likely pay-per-view specialist entertainment, shall we say. Now, the ICO, the Information Commission's Office, has begun an investigation after accepting a complaint from Caithness man Peter Todd, who said, was the iPad password protected? There must have been confidential information on that device. I don't blame his children for 1 minute, but kids being kids, they are curious. So they could have had access to personal emails from his constituents while he was by the pool drinking sangria. Oh, let me tell you, Mr. Todd, he was not at the pool. He was not drinking sangria. He was engaged in other activities. He said, in correspondence seen by the Scottish Daily Express, the ICO states, we have considered the issues that you've raised with us, and based on this information, we have contacted Michael Matheson, MSP. We have asked them to give us further information about your complaint and their information rights practices. Now, if that iPad isn't secure, isn't password protected, and has any confidential or private information on it relating to constituents or business matters, that is a crime immediately. That is a crime. There is no getting away from it. He can spin it all he wants, but that's an actual crime. If it is password protected and he's given that password to his kids, that is actually a crime. There's no getting away from it. So it's a lose-lose situation. Is it password protected? Yes. Then you've committed a crime by giving your kids the password. Or is it password protected? No. Then it's a crime because you've left insecure data. GDPR, very explicit. Do 2 years for GDPR. That would be nice. Mr. Todd has previous experience of dealing with the ICO after NHS Highland sent him the confidential details of 4 other patients, leading concerns that his own information may have been similarly compromised. His complaint led to mediation with the health board bosses and a slap on the wrist for SNP MP Ian Blackford, whose office failed to respond to Mr. Todd's subject of access request. Now, Ian Blackford gets a slap on the wrist. Ian Blackford was responsible. Ian Blackford should have had a much more serious thing than a slap on the wrist. He should have been suspended for it. I don't know how he got away with it. Anyway, he added, this is Todd, Mr. Todd, he added, I emailed Mr. Matheson when he was the health secretary and I've never even had the courtesy of a reply. I also emailed Hamza Yousaf when he was in the role and he never replied either. They won't reply. You're nobody. You're just one of the masses. You're just one of the normies. Look at them. We're the plebs. We don't count. We're not special. Come on. He said, why did they think it was appropriate to ignore a member of the public raising serious concerns about data protection breaches at NHS Highland? Because they don't care. He said, in fairness, the health board has finally sorted out the issues and the ICO have been brilliant with me. They take no nonsense whatsoever and they are very fair and very firm. If you break the rules, you suffer the consequences. This is what Ian Blackford and NHS Highland and now Michael Matheson have found out to their cost. The 41-year-old lives in Thurso. Very good. Don't care about Mr. Todd. Only glad that he's done what he's done. Oh my God, I just read something there, which I don't really want to promulgate, but I will. He's also the victim of a ring of men interested in young children linked to Cyril Smith. Poor bastard. He's highlighted the lack of NHS mental health provision in the far north, which means he must make a 250-mile round trip to a hospital to seek mental health provision. And I've just seen why, and I can understand that. But yeah, in that case, no, well done, Mr. Todd. Thank you. Craig Hoy, MSP, Scottish Conservative Chairman, said the fact that the Information Commissioner has now written to Michael Matheson seeking details of this apparent breach of data shows that he still has serious questions to answer and he should abandon his attempts to evade scrutiny. And in the light of the findings of the cross-party parliamentary investigation, he should resign as an MSP or, if he continues to refuse to, have the SNP whip withdrawn by Hamza Yousaf. But, of course, that won't happen. Yousaf hasn't got the balls to do it. He literally hasn't. He's the smoothest of men down the front, isn't he? Little Kendall. Matheson and the SNP declined to comment because, of course, they would. They're scared. They know whatever they say will be taken out of context and will be used against them. But it's far too late. And what are they going to say? Michael's innocent. You know, I stand by him, says Hamza Yousaf. He's a man of great integrity. Well, he'll be saying that on the inside of Parkhurst soon, won't he? Hey ho, there we go. Another worrying day for the thieving liar. Hard. It's hard, isn't it, when you're a thieving liar and people keep questioning you on it. You wonder why the people in his constituency put up with it. Maybe they should, you know, try and get rid of him. There is no recall petition, unfortunately. Not yet. Anyway, more on that later. I'm coming up. So this is a lot more serious for Michael Matheson now because, as I say, this is the Information Commission Office. Nothing to do with Scottish politics. Not controlled, nothing to do with the Scottish legal system, nothing like that. This sits atop all that. Dorothy Bain can't stick her oar in the water there and give it a swirl about and try and muddy the waters and clear him. Oh no, siree Bob. This one is serious. This one can end up in prison. Probably won't, but it could. And he knows that. And that, of course, will give him a very worrying Easter. Good. He can sit there shoveling as much chocolate egg in his face as he likes. I don't trust him. You don't trust him. Nobody trusts him. He's a liar and he's a thief. Thanks very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video and I will speak to you later. Bye.